written, and I'm sorry, the mic was muted the whole time. Hope you guys are doing well. So it is Tuesday. We're almost 2 weeks into August, so if you guys are slacking on your music, it's time to get on it, you know? Like, this game, this business doesn't wait for you. You know what I mean? Like, this takes proactivity, this takes a lot of production, it takes great songs, it takes a lot of time, effort, investment. That's the real God-honest truth of how the music industry works, or making any sort of living with music. It takes a lot from you. So if you're on vacations and you're chilling and you're not finishing stuff and, you know, you're sitting on the fence and all that stuff, you might as well just make music a hobby and, you know, just dedicate yourself to your day job. All right. But for all you that are super serious about music and you really do want to make a living out of this, that's what I'm doing all these live streams for, right? Like, that's why I teach all the mixing, mastering, the production, show you all this stuff. But anyway, today I'm going to show you an artist development program, someone in my artist development program that I honestly didn't want to take on at first. And he's a songwriter. And the reason I didn't want to take him on is because I didn't think that he was going to be able to do much besides write songs, you know? And in my artist development program, I'm developing artists into, you know, people that can release, make content, promote, you know, get out there, play shows, and build their brand and their streaming and, you know, their platforms and their records and their catalog. But he convinced me that, hey, he's going to write the songs and then I can produce them out, mix them, master them, basically do everything else. So we're doing 3 songs together, and I charge more for that, of course. If I'm producing, I'm, you know, mixing, mastering, coming up with the arrangements, you know, hiring all the players, all that stuff. But these are all songs that he wants to pitch for sync licensing. So he's basically paying me to create the masters and the copyrights, the ownership. And obviously we'd be splitting like publishing and ideas and stuff if I write anything. But he's written like kind of something on guitar, and I'm going to show you everything in this live stream. We're going to go through it because I think it's really interesting, you know, just to hear something that, like, here was the idea someone came to me with, and then here's the record that we're pitching for sync licensing placements on TV shows and film and commercials and stuff. Now, this one's definitely made more towards TV promos and TV shows, but let's dive in. We're in Logic Pro. Everything's in Logic Pro. I've produced all of this in Logic Pro. I've recorded everything in Logic Pro, you know, cut the vocals, the drums, the bass, guitars, everything, all right here in Logic Pro. Okay. So let's go through kind of like where the client came to me with this kind of sketch, you know. This was their sketch, and it's pretty rough, but you know, you'll get the idea. And I'm just gonna play a little bit of it. I'll probably play it through like the chorus or something, so you guys can get an idea of like the writing and everything. And then I'm gonna play what I've done and how I've produced it up and created a record for him, right? And it's not done, the record that I'm working on, but it's pretty far along. I'd say it's about 70% there. Okay. So let's check this out. This was the rough kind of, here's a song idea. What do you think about it? And would you be able to produce a record for me around this?
Into town, guns blazing hot, all loving, raising hell, muddy boots, wet stomp. In pouring rain, salvation close in view, inhaling grain, my daily bread and brew. If I can make a deal, bargain with angels, be careful taking heed, refusing the devil. Before the storm beats down to bring the flood, we'll float away to safety from above. Stay pure in what you break, 'cause faith can never be explained. You'll take it to the grave, 'cause only true believers are saved. Only true believers are saved.
All right, you get the idea, right? Now, for me, I have to take the song, the lyrics, the ideas in there, and translate them to something that would sync license. So here's sort of my version of the record so far. Here's what I've turned it into, I guess.
All love and raising hell, muddy boots, wet stomping, pouring rain. Salvation close in view, inhaling grain. My daily bread and brew. If I can make a deal, bargain with angels. Be careful, taking heed, refusing the devil before the storm beats down. To bring the flood will float away to safety from above. Stay pure in what you pray, 'cause faith can never be explained. You'll take it to the grave, 'cause only true believers are saved.
Anyway, so the idea here is to make a catchy chorus, make something that, can stand against, a picture. Because I think the hard part about sync licensing stuff, and to really be, like where you really are, like a lot of people miss the mark, is that you have to have something that's cinematic and big enough to stand up against a cinematic picture, right? Like an artist has to have that feeling that can compete with some of the biggest actors and the way that the screenplay is showing up, and the scenes and the guns and the blasts and the explosions and things like that, especially for like TV promos and stuff. Okay. So very simply put, this is like kind of an artist that I would be working with, they give me something like this, right? Where
stay pure in what you pray, 'cause faith can never be explained. You'll take it to the grave, 'cause only true believers are saved.
Only true believers are saved. Ooh, yeah. Only true believers are saved.
right, you kind of have to translate some of the ideas that they might have in there and make them stickier and produce them up, right? Because that's what I'm doing. I'm producing this up to land in a specific place, okay? Now, if I was producing this record and he was like, yeah, man, you know, we have this conversation. Like, that's the key thing is like, what do you want to do? It's like, oh, well, I want to take this song and make it something that's going to license on, you know, I want to get a sync with it. I want to TV shows, TV promos, etc. Okay, great. So we can't just like keep it this like, oh, we're only true believers, you know, on like acoustic guitar. And we can't keep it real small and puny and stuff like that, right? And to be fair, he was like pretty straight up with me, like, hey, I don't want to be singing this. I think it needs a lower, deeper, growly voice and all that stuff. So, you know, he understands where his limitations are. And he's really just going, hey, I'm the songwriter. I want to write the lyrics. I want to write the story and all that stuff. Okay. So that's kind of like where we're taking it. So now I'm kind of like in the production process, right? So I have drums here. These are all played by Kip Allen, and kind of a Nashville kind of sound, right? And he's from Nashville. He's out of Nashville. Kip is. But then also I had him cut the drums and then also the toms separately, okay? So I wanted to make sure that he had all the drums and toms like separate so I can do this tom thing that I wanted to do. So I'll show you kind of where we're at with that, okay? So he's got like the tom overdubs here, which is cool. So now I can drag these in and let's start working on these. And I'm going to show you kind of where the idea is starting to become something bigger and better, right? Because I think that that's the key to production is, as a producer, it's my job to find the magic moments and find the things that are going to work to like the edit, right? Because a lot of the times artists aren't thinking about that, and maybe you haven't gotten anything placed in TV shows or commercials. You know, I've done almost $4 million in sync licensing placements for commercials, TV shows, films, etc. So I know what the editors and the people are looking for, and I kind of have my finger on that pulse a little bit more than someone that's never done it, right? Like, let's be real. So this is kind of the idea that I had for the toms that I gave him. And this is mainly in the chorus. So Kip actually like cut these separately, right? So I'll show you what these are. So we have close rooms, crush mic. All these things are the same as these mics up here. So we may not need all of these for the tom parts. But here are the tom 1 and tom 2 is what I'm looking for here. Okay. So these are like overdubbed. He took the toms on their own. And that's kind of what I wanted him to do. He did it naturally because he's a session player. You know, he plays drums on a lot of my stuff and a lot of my artist stuff and client stuff, right? So when I'm working with someone, I utilize my Rolodex of players and, you know, writers and whoever else I need to bring into the game. But here's the overdubs and sort of the tom idea for the chorus.
If I can make a deal, bargain with angels, be careful taking heed, refusing the devil before the storm beats down. To bring the flood will float away to safety from above. Secure in what you pray, 'cause faith can never be explained. You'll take it to the grave, 'cause
now these are a mess right now because they're not mixed, right? But basically the idea would be, you know, how you have this kind of tom idea bouncing off of it. So I'm going to actually mute everything besides the close mics here. So you can just kind of hear what the toms are doing exactly.
in what you pray, 'cause faith can never be explained. You'll take it to the grave.
Right, so then I'm going to be layering this up, right? Like I'm going to have claps on the chorus, I think, like layered in. Maybe some chain sounds and like some found stuff, you know? Because I want this to be big and thick. Maybe some stomps, you know, things like that that are going to be organic and, you know, that lend themselves really well to picture. All right, so this is kind of like the do, 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 do. You know, that was the idea here. So let's listen to the rooms and everything. Let's start to get these into the mix. Right, so these are pretty big and they're going to take up a lot of room. So we have to be really careful with how many mics we use here. We have these rooms and we have the overheads here. I definitely want to use the overheads and I'll bring these up here. And this is something like as you're mixing, you kind of have to be weary about, right? Because I have in the drum kit his open tom mics here. So I'm probably going to just cut these out completely, besides the ones that he played at the end here. Okay, so these are like tom mics that he's got here, and you can see and read the waveforms where he's actually hitting these toms. So just kind of cut these out and make sure we got those, but not where the chorus is, because this is all just going to be kind of noise in those mics, right? I want to keep that noise out. So here, let's just go boom. Just doing some like overall big shaping here. Just go clunk, clunk, you know, cut it out. And we can tighten this up later. But for now, that's like kind of how I would get rid of the noise in those. And then we have a tambourine in here they played that I thought was pretty cool. And now for the tom mics, let's make sure we're not using anything that's causing too much garbage to come through. But here's the room mic. Which I think that sounds really cool. That gives some nice depth. I do have on the rooms, yeah, nothing on them right now. You have on the overheads some EQ. So I want to take this EQ from these overheads and bring it to this overhead so that we keep kind of the tone overall of the drum kit, right? So let's go here and drag this over, right? So this is now going to be sort of EQ'd the same way that the other overheads are EQ'd. And if this is confusing to you, it's because of the organization, right? So he cut the full drum pattern with all the mics open. Here's all the mics. You have kick in, kick out, snare punch top, snare snap top. Then you have snare bottom, close rooms, crush mic, far rooms, hats, hot tato. You know, it's like just a mic setup, maybe like a mono mic right by his crotch or something, you know, that's like distorted or gated or whatever. Here, let's listen to it so you can hear it. Right, so we're talking about, you know, serious studio musicians, sponsored by Zildjian, like professionals, you know, they get paid out of the budget that I charge my clients, right? So when I'm making a record for a client, they're not having to go hire players or give players percentages or splits or anything like that. What I do is I buy out the players, right? So I'm like, hey, here's a fee from my production budget to pay out you. So that the client now owns the guitars, he owns the drums, he owns the bass, he owns the master and the copyright, the master recording. You know, that's why people hire a producer. Just so you guys are clear on why you hire a producer. We're making you a product that you can't make on your own. Okay, does that make sense? When I'm giving direction, arranging, composing, producing, I am making something that you personally cannot do on your own. I've been doing this for almost 30 years. If you can do this on your own, fine, go for it, right? Like, but then I also have connections that I bring to the table, sync licensing placements, publishing, you know, sync reps, all that kind of stuff. So I'm also directing and guiding the artists and the writers. Like, hey, look, you have this idea, but what are you going to do with it? What are you trying to do with it? Oh, I just want to release records and start a band, you know? It's like, okay, so what's the goals? You know, we talk about the goals. Producing is much more than making a beat, okay? That's all I'm trying to tell you. So we're dealing with budgets, we're buying out players, we are creating the master copyright that they are paying for. The fee is paying for that, okay? And then you're going to pay a royalty to me as a producer of 5 to 10% on the mechanical payment, right? So in DistroKid, when you go to upload it, you're like, oh, the mechanical production royalty would be 5 points, 10 points, etc. Okay. So the fee that usually people pay me as a producer, and I just want to do this live stream because I want to clarify all this stuff for you guys and also answer any of your questions, because I think it's a very skewed, like, gray area that people are like, why would I pay a producer when I can make my own stuff? You know, when I got Suno, you know what I'm saying? It's like people just do not understand the value of a producer. And I'm talking about a real record producer, not a beat maker, not someone putting drums down, you know, and then like selling you a loop, you know what I'm saying? With no connections, nothing, you know, they're not even giving you the master. Like you don't own the master. They're like, we're splitting this, you know? So this is why you pay people. The mixing and mastering is a whole other thing. Right? So, and that's included usually when I'm working with someone and producing with them or for them. Okay. So we're creating a master copyright ownership for that artist, for this artist. This artist is going to own and control this piece of IP, you know? So that's how it works. All right. So anyway, I digress. Let's go back to this. Overheads, toms, let's get these sitting in the mix better. These are all going to be going through the drum mix bus, which I have here on 3348 tape. Then I got the Pro Q4. Then I got the L1 limiter. Pretty typical, basic, standard kind of drum mix bus, keeping everything together, okay? Nothing crazy here. We haven't really got super into the mix. So a lot of the times when I'm producing and mixing and shaping as I go, you might see things like this. Like I tracked this bass, and then I just like made a little room at the 256. Like the snare drum is really fat in this song. So I want to clear a lot of room for the snare drum, the kick drum, etc. And then we're really pushing up 113 and 488 here. And I recorded this bass, and then the acoustic guitars, you know, we got this little Valhalla room, nothing crazy, right? These are all things like as I'm tracking, I'm dialing in tones and stuff, okay? And then for the electric telly, this is kind of an interesting one. I use the Showtime 64 amp going into the Valhalla room, okay? So we're going for like a very like Nashville rock kind of, little bit of country twang to it sort of thing, okay? So we also have this electric telly here with some EQ and of course, one of my favorites, the mixed wave stuff. And this is the JHS Loud is More Good, right? So you got this going into the amp, going into the cab. I swear by these plugins. I use them all the time, guitar sessions, etc. But I also use the mixed wave. There's another one I use from them. And then now there's a one knob also that I use from Bogren Digital that I track with. Oh yeah, Milkman Creamer. This is like one of my go-tos, 100%. Like one of the go-to amps that I have. And this is actually for the lap steel. So if you hear the lap steel in this, this is going through Pro Q4, mixed wave, Milkman Creamer, and then we're going to the Valhalla room, right? And that sounds like this. Nice depth. One of my favorite things about this plugin specifically is the reverb. The reverb is so nice on this plugin. So really, really dope. And yeah, just showing you some of this stuff that I use as I'm recording and producing, not necessarily like I am mixing, you know, and these are all my mixing plugins, because that's just not true. These are like tone plugins. So like, for example, when I'm cutting these electric telly parts and the acoustics, right? That's like just cutting it right. Like we're just taking it through, I think I use the Soyuz on this, the Soyuz FET 017. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. And then the electric telly, that's just the Pro Q, and then the more Loud is More Good, and then Valhalla room again. So these are all just kind of like recorded sounds. I'm like, that's the tone of the record. But then the mix is going to come. Like I'm going to either like mix on top of these plugins or swap things out that I need to swap out. Okay. Bass, same thing. Like I probably need some more compression on this, probably do some parallel compression, make sure it's standing out a lot better, but that's what I'm using. And then my stereo output, my master bus right now, as it is not really set up. It's just like God particle going to the AL1. That's it. So nothing really shaped on the master bus. It's just a little bit of harmonics, a little bit of limiting, literally. So yeah. And then the vocals. Vocals are all cut through a little bit of compression and stuff, but I have like a chain that I built, you know? So it's like auto-tune, this Sentry, I'm like in love with this thing for drive on vocals, like driven, distorted vocals, you know, where it's got hair on them. This is going to be like the tube channel strip. And what you do here is, well, what I did on this one is I give the tube preamp here, drive it a little bit, and then I push the mids. Right? So you can see like the mids are pushed pretty hard, and that's like around like what, that 1K area, 1.2, whatever. Right. And then I push that up, and then I take the lows down, do a little compression, and then just like gain in and out on the inputs and outputs. And then that's got the CLA3A, and then that goes to the 1176, right? For tone, control, keeping it anchored in your face. We got some Pro Q. Like, this is literally like de-essing, bringing up some brilliance, getting rid of some mud and push and stuff that builds up when you start to distort and compress so hard, right? Because all this stuff will start to build up, that low mid stuff. So just kind of cleaning that back up. And then Pro DS and then Nectar 4. This is like a big trick here, is like use this bitch and like sometimes I'll tuck this down, which is like the high end of this, but we are like pushing tube 90%. That's giving you some saturation. I absolutely love that for saturation. SSL Spring Verb, amazing. I use it all the time now. And then that is then going to this pure plate. And then I had like this Echo Boy Jr. on here like as a slap, but I'm not sure that I even really liked it or not. So I just kind of left it off. And then that is kind of like my lead vocal, you know, that's my lead vocal for the verses and stuff. So that's what this whole thing is.
Gonna roll on into town, guns blazing high. All love and raising hell, muddy boots, wet stomping, pouring rain. Salvation close in view, inhaling grain. My daily bread and brew. If I can make a deal, bargain with angels. Be careful taking heed, refusing the devil before the storm beats down to bring the flood will float away.
Right, so that's my in your face, you know, driven, dirty, tough guy. That's my tough guy chain. Y'all got him dead and do. You know, that's kind of the vibe there. Yeah, so you guys got any questions? Let me see here. Do you print with all the sound plugins when moving to mixing or leave it all in place in case it needs editing? Right now, it's like I'm producing still, you know? It's like I'm getting tones, I'm getting the record sound, drums, you know, getting everything leveled, balanced, kind of where I want it. It's really about tone shaping and sculpting the sonics right now, okay? And then we'll get into like detailed mixing stuff. So when I get into the detailed mixing stuff, yeah, sometimes I'll print. I'll say like, oh, this is a great, you know, all this stuff sonically, the guitar tone is great. Let's print it through the amps or just leave them on. And then I'll just mix on top of that. Like, oh, maybe it needs to be EQ'd a little bit. Maybe I need to parallel send to a compressor. Maybe I need to widen it out. Maybe I need to tuck it back in the back, et cetera, okay? So good question, but it's all kind of like all one process. I try to keep it all fluid. That's why I don't nowadays like jump a lot around. I used to like produce and compose and make beats and stuff in Logic and then bring all the stems into Pro Tools and then mix and master in Pro Tools and edit and tune and all that in Pro Tools. And I'm like, dude, that's so much work, you know? And then like assets, like when you have to like go back on something, you're like, I got to go back to the Logic session and make a bounce of this thing, but I got to bypass the plugins and then I got to bring that into Pro Tools to Melodyne it, you know? I just don't do that anymore. It's like a waste of time, honestly. So everything's in Logic now. As far as like writing, arrangement, production, composing, arrangement, I already said arrangement, but like, you know, mixing, mastering. So like even now, like as I'm here, I still want to cut more vocals for this, this chorus part. I still want to cut like a high part on this.
Secure in what you pray, 'cause faith can never be explained. You'll take it to the grave.
Right? I want to, especially on this part, the oh, like this here.
Believers are saved.
Like that is a puny ass stack. There's what, two? You know, it's a stereo pair. Like, oh, like that needs like, oh, it needs like a high one. It needs like a bodied one, you know, or and I'll like move around the room and I'll stack it up and fill it out, you know? So it really feels like a big chant because that's the kind of stuff that sync license, you know, that's in the placement where, you know, it's like the explosion happens and it's like, oh, boom, boom, you know, and then like, you know, coming soon, Jack Reacher. You feel me though? Like, that's what we're doing here, just so you guys are really aware. Like, that's the name of the game. And a placement on like a TV, a good TV promo, is like $15K up front, like $15,000 up front, right? So I might have to split that with a publisher, you know, like someone that actually made the placement. So then I'm still getting $7,500, right? And then this artist controls the master, right? So I basically get their permission, you know, because I'm doing this for them, I'm producing for them, they're paying me a fee, they own the master copyright. I get their permission to pitch it around, and then I split that fee with them. So then they're getting, you know, basically their investment right back on one sync licensing placement. So that's what I'm going for with these. We're going to do 3 songs together with this artist. But yeah, you have to be very specific on what you're making the music for when you hire someone to do it, right? Like if you have an artist project that you want to get off the ground and you're like, dude, I want to do this the best that I could possibly do. If I'm going to spend marketing budget and ads and I'm going to get on playlists and stuff like that, I need to put out the music that's actually going to land on those things and that's going to be worth me promoting it. So you have the opportunity to get in front of the right ears and eyes, etc., with your music. Otherwise, you're like putting your demos out there and the best that you can do. And then you're like, should I even promote this? And then you promote it and it's not really doing very well. And like the cost per conversion on your ads is really high because the song's just really not there quality wise, right? So people are used to a certain quality and a certain sound with everything. So you know, what I'm doing on this is made for sync licensing placements. But if I was doing this like for a record that he was going to be putting out on Spotify, this would be a different process. I think the song would not be so cheesy, right? Like, and I would change a lot of lyrics and I would do a lot of different things to make this more of a record that you would want to stream and have behind an artist project. But you know, my voice is on this, so it's totally different. Like if this was an artist project, his voice would be on it. I would be coaching him. I would be vocally producing him, you know? And I do that remotely, by the way. It's like, you know, I can remotely record anybody from anywhere as long as they have a decent internet connection, you know? So that's, it's all like, where's it going? That's always like the producer mindset is like, you hire a producer because of market viability, right? What are you trying to do with the music? Oh, I want to sync license place it into commercials. Okay, that's a totally different thing, right? Then, oh, I want to get some TV and TV promo placements. That's a totally different thing. Then I want to get some sports promo, ESPN placements, you know, football, Major League Baseball, etc. Okay, totally different things, right? So you have to know like where you're putting things. Oh, I want to do an artist project where I'm doing indie pop and I'm building my artist project and platform from the ground up, making sure that everything's dialed in. The records are great. The songs are great. We have great masters, recordings, etc. And then we can also pitch those for sync. But this is going to build my artist thing. And then I'm going to put out content around it. And I'm going to build my streaming numbers and my audience and my fans. And then I'm going to go play shows and stuff, right? Whew, that's a lot. All right, so let's check out these drums again. I want to actually lock these in.
Stay pure in what you pray, 'cause faith can never be
Right, like we don't want to use that mic on this. It just sounds like someone fucked up the mic, you know what I mean? All right, what's the mono overhead sound like?
can never be explained. You'll take it to the grave, 'cause only true believers are saved. And I said,
All right, we're getting there. We're getting there. Let me see what you got going on here. Any other questions? Yeah, I'm trying to answer your guys' questions on this stream. I'm not trying to make this like a mixing, you know, masterclass kind of stream. I want you to understand kind of the thought process and the process behind like why the fuck would I hire a producer, especially in 2026? Because a lot of people are wondering that, you know? Another massive reason why you hire a producer is because Suno and AI music is now like completely getting blocked by most DSPs, most distributors. And that sucks for a lot of people, but it's also good for the industry as a whole because we won't have a bunch of AI slop shit out there. And who wants to promote that anyway? You guys want to be you want to be running ads to your AI project? Your Gen AI shit, like that everybody knows is AI because now it's going to be like labeled as such on Spotify and everywhere else. All right, is there a reason you put all your reverbs directly on the track instead of sends? Yeah, I really like control over the reverbs full on for the individual sounds. So, like, for example, guitars and stuff, right? Like electric telly, Valhalla room, I can change everything, right? Like decay time, low cut, high cut, depth, all that on the individual thing. Not only that, when I pan it, it's panning with it, right? So like for the Valhalla here, you're going to get the reverb, not just, you know, sending to a reverb that's coming back just stereo as a return. Now it's panning with everything and following the sound a little bit more. That sounds way different than if that guitar is like panned to the left and you're playing it, but then you're sending to a reverb and then the reverb is returning stereo, right? It's just going to sound different. It's a different way of doing it. So that's the thought process behind that. And sometimes I'm just lazy with that. Like I'm just like, just throw the reverb on there, you know? Like I don't want to make a send and all that shit. You know, just get the sound how I want it to sound right away. How about volume balancing? Yeah. How about it? I mean, I don't know what the question is there. Always want to be volume balancing. Needs more layers. Are you thinking about Sonics? Yeah. Yeah, I think Sonics for sure. Like that chant has to be way bigger. You know what I mean? Like I can't have this like, oh, oh. Like that's so tiny, right? So yeah, I'm thinking about like visually what that looks like, how it sounds. It has to be big, you know? It has to be a big world. And I've stacked so many vocals and I've done that so many times that I know exactly what I'm looking for and what I'm going for with that, you know? Part of being a producer that's just, you know, I've just done this before. So I guess that's the best way to put it. Who recut that acoustic? What do you mean recut? I don't understand that. Oh, you're saying because like he played his acoustic in this one? Like this was him just playing everything and like singing and, you know, writing. But yeah, like I just bring in a session player to recut the acoustic. And then of course, like we rewrote the part and everything as well. So now it's like bum bunk instead of like what he had in here, which was let's hear it.
Bargain with angel, float away pure. You'll take it, explain, get to the great truth. Savers are saved.
Right, so that was like his original lick, like down, da 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 dang, down, down, but it doesn't like really. It didn't like hit the way that I wanted it to, so I rewrote this part with a guitar player, like a session player.
And I slept 100 feet. And I slept 100 books.
Right, so it just feels more appropriate to this. But yeah, it's kind of the idea. Kind of sounded like Beck. I like that. That's sick. I'm down for that. That's a vibe. Let's go, baby. Yeah, Beck did it. Beck came in and just played the acoustic guitar. You know, paid him a couple $100. That'd be sick if I just like had Beck on call, like, yeah, dude, just could you come cut guitar on this like track I'm working on for this artist? That'd be so tight, dude. But anyway, yeah, so now I want to like do the mix and stuff, but want to do this live stream to kind of explain and break down this kind of idea for you guys, so you can understand like what goes into a production and like why have a producer, like, or, you know, if you want to learn how to produce, you can spend, you know, 30 years figuring this shit out and like get good enough with it and build out your Rolodex and, you know, get players and, you know, hire them and buy them out on your own. And like, I do that with my music, you know, like I have records where like I've written everything, I've produced everything myself. And then, you know, I have players come in and play like, oh, I need a guitar player because I can't really play the guitar good enough on this record or the idea that I have in mind. And then I'll hire a player to come in and do that. But it all depends, you know, everything depends on like what you're going for. What level are you trying to perform at? Sorry, I got like crazy allergies today. Anyway, that's the vibe. And if you guys need production, you know where to find me. I'll see you guys next time. Hit me with any questions as well. I'm here to answer anything.